It's the Stranger Nerds here. I have myself, Connor Vandermark, Mitchell Lee, Tommy Grant, and we are here for Season 3, Chapter 1, the new season, and highly regarded by both Mitchell and Tommy. So I am definitely looking forward to it. Title of this episode is Suzie, Do You Copy? Which I thought was very funny, as we'll get to a little later. So before we go
I
into a
always
little
read
deeper,
that like, Annie, are you okay?
no,
I always just kind of hear it like that.
not to me at all. Annie, are you okay? I wouldn't say that, but it's a catchy song. Yeah, so
That's
I was
great.
not with you guys for the last episode for the season 2 finale, which I thought was very good.
And you're
and I did rate it a 9.2. So I thought it was a nice little bow tie to the end of the season. I saw you guys didn't rate it as high. Usually around an average for everybody else around like an 8.5, 8.6 is. But I thought it was good. I thought it was a lot of good.
The highest on the season.
I thought it was a good season. There was like, again, but I can see the complaints.
We need that though, because if we all hate and love the same things, it just doesn't. It gets boring.
I'm like, with you on that.
Good contrast there.
I can see the complaints. It definitely does make sense.
You can hear the complaints.
I was a reference to my cat just yelling in the background just now.
Okay, I'm glad you said that because I heard the noise. I was like, I wasn't sure if that was Josie. I was like, that's a really fucking weird noise.
No, that was my.
That was your cat saying, "I hate season 2."
Yeah. Connor, you're wrong.
Yeah,
get off the show.
I did think that they ended it very nicely because I thought that the pacing, the tempo switch up was so good in this episode or that episode that like it kept me really engaged. And then the ending I thought was very sweet, and I really enjoyed that. Nancy dancing with Dustin, I thought that was very sweet. A lot of good things in there. I was very pleased. So, but and with the season 2 going to season 3. Last comments, Tommy?
No, I was just gonna say, with how you were mentioning the kind of shift in tone. One thing with Stranger, like a lot of TV shows, you always see kind of a similar tone throughout the show. Stranger Things I like because each season kind of has a different feel to it. Season 1 is kind of like that, small town, kid goes missing, whole government conspiracy. Season 2 is more of like season 2 is more like an Exorcist type feel. It's a little more dark, a little more spooky. Even though Noah Schnapp can't act the spooky part, but we'll let that slide.
That's pretty scary to me.
We've dug that one to pieces.
Scary if someone put Noah Schnapp in a wet paper bag, couldn't act his way out of it.
Okay.
Yeah, Connor, the main thing you missed last episode was just us bashing on Noah Schnapp some more, so you didn't miss.
I'm not surprised. That horse is well dead. That horse is well dead 6 feet under.
Well, I'm just gonna say it's gonna continue to get even more dead. It ain't improving.
And then to continue on my point is season 3, as we'll get into it, has more of a Red Scare vibe to it and more of it kind of starts to broaden the spectrum. Why are you making that weird face, Mitchell?
Maybe my understanding
you
of
can't
the
deny
show
it's
is
literally about
less.
Russians. It's about Russians in the 80s. That's like pure Red Scare.
I was going to say it's a little bit of like if John Hughes tried to make Red Dawn.
And what is Red Dawn about, Mitchell?
That means nothing to me.
God,
I'm sorry.
You people.
I'm sorry.
You people need to make some guest appearances on Press Play Action and learn more about movies, because these are John Hughes, the famous 80s director, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, The Breakfast Club.
I will give Connor the benefit of the doubt of not knowing who John Hughes is. Like most people don't know many directors. Okay. But Connor, hold on. Connor,
those people know who
Connor, do you
John
at least
Hughes
know what
is.
Red Dawn is?
It sounds familiar, but I can't pull it.
No, all right. No, you've. I tried to help you out, but nope, you're gone.
I've seen John Hughes
made
movies.
Classic 80s movies like Ferris Bueller's Day Off, The Breakfast Club. I think he made Home Alone, but I could be wrong on that. Yeah, he did. No, he did not make Home Alone, but he wrote Home Alone, so he does have a credit on that. but it's like a John Hughes type of movie. But if it was Red Dawn, which is about these kids, they're in high school and they're fighting Russians.
Yeah.
Never seen it, but
and that's kind of what
it's like if John
that's what the
Hughes
tone of the
made
season
Red
is.
Dawn.
It's very Russia in the 80s, Red Scare kind of vibe to it. Obviously not as scary. It's more of a fun kind of show anyway, but the tone shifts to a bigger scale in this season is what I'm trying to get to. And we
I would
definitely
say
get
more
some
Cold War than Red Scare, but I get what you're going for.
Mitchell.
Well, I think people think Red
this
Scare, they just think people being accused of being communists, not
Yeah.
afraid of like the Russians dropping bombs on us type of thing.
because the Red Scare was more close to the McCarthyism back in 1950s.
Yeah.
all right.
This was more like
But you get my point.
Your family that had like the nuke bunkers.
Though your point does make sense though, like the height of the Cold War was the 70s and 80s, and that was very much a thing that was in the front of many Americans' minds during the day.
Okay, we drop bomb on you.
Yeah. But so let's start off with some of the new characters we get to see this season. We get some big actor names to kick off. Starting off with Carrie. Well, all right, big nostalgic actor names. I mean, come on, you got Carrie. I'm gonna butcher the last name, so I'll let Mitchell say that. But
Carrie Elways, or as I like to call him, Carrie Elways in his non-acting ass, because he can't really act either. He's been
but he's been in such great movies. He was in Princess Bride and Robin Hood Men in Tights.
He's always the worst part of them.
I enjoyed both movies with him in it. Don't give me that.
Princess Bride is an all-time great movie. I'm not gonna, but Princess Bride is kind of where his acting peaked. Like once he got a little bit older, usually you get better as you get older in acting, and he did not. And it kind of. Yeah.
Is the right term for someone like him a method actor, where it's like they have their one lane and they go stick in it?
No, that's just like being typecast. Where it's like
that's what,
you play like the same character over and over again because people know you for that.
That's why I see him as, or at least when it comes like
method acting is when you pretend to be when you're the character like the whole way through. Like Daniel Day-Lewis being Abraham Lincoln, like offset and like refusing to use like technology.
I would say to the extreme of Heath Ledger as Joker. That was method acting to the extreme.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just in terminology, but
something like that.
Yeah. I thought he was good. What he was good for, but like I don't think he was anything. No, he didn't blow you away, but Princess. For fair warning,
and
Princess
he doesn't
Bride
have a major role.
Movie.
He doesn't have a major role in this season anyway, but he's just a cool actor to kind of bring in. He was a big '80s name, and so then we move on. We have Jake Busey, the son of actor Gary Busey, as Bruce Lowe, who works at the Hawkins Post. Then we have Maya Hawke, who is probably the best actor to come into this season.
Yes.
Playing Robin Buckley. She's also the daughter of Ethan Hawke, for Connor, who doesn't know who anybody is. Do you know who Ethan Hawke is?
That sounds familiar.
What the hell? You don't know who Ethan Hawke is? What?
We just have to like
Ethan Hawke.
We have to make like a college
I know
course
his face.
of just.
Yes, I know.
Mitchell, you need to make like a college course and give it to Connor of just actors.
Again, names do not know. Faces, you should throw like a face in this document so I know who they look like.
Maya Hawke is
for season 4. I will do that. Season 4, I'll throw in face.
Revenge last year or 2022, and last year she was in Asteroid City and Maestro. So she is she's a big up and comer.
Yeah. And the other couple names aren't as big. We have Alec Utgoff as Alexei, who is another interesting character in the season. We have Andrei Evchenko as Grigory, who again isn't a big actor or role in this show. He kind of plays the antagonist. And then Michael Park as Tom Holloway. Again, he was big on this one show, As the World Turns. I've never heard of it. Mitchell, I don't know if you ever even heard of that, but he was in
It's a
1,000+
it's a
episodes. So I'm
soap
guessing it was
opera.
like a sitcom. Soap
It's a
opera?
soap
Okay.
opera. Yeah.
That makes sense. That explains the shit ton of episodes. And just for context for the season, this takes place 6 months after the end of season 2. So not as big of a time jump from season 1 to season 2. It's only 6 months, but just for context. So with that, do you guys want to hop into the episode and get this started?
Yeah, let's go.
No. Good night, everybody. No, I'm just kidding.
All right, good night. I'm going to go to sleep. So we have the opening scene with the title card of June 28th, 1984. And it's in a kind of starts off in a government facility, and they kind of do a job of kind of hiding what type of government facility and what nationality the government facility is. And it kind of gives you hints as you're going through. And it kind of gives off the vibe that they're in Hawkins' lab, but we'll soon find out they're not. But they are working on this big laser looking machine, a mini, Death Star ray, if you will. And we see them starting to test it, and they're opening up a gate to the Upside Down. And the laser pretty much goes haywire and breaks down. And this is when we get a shift of the camera and we realize that it's a Russian military base or government base. And the lead scientist gets killed. And the general basically walks up to who we see as Alexei and says, "You're promoted. You have a year to get this machine fixed and operating." And he walks out, and we get the Russian music playing with the USSR flag flying in the background. And that kind of sets the tone of Big Russia is here to play this season. So, yeah. Connor, what'd you think of that whole opening scene?
I'm glad you put the date, like put the context of when season 3 starts, because that was the one thing I was kind of curious about. Because one thing that did go through one thing that went through my head was that were the scientists with the other guy's name, I can't think of his name, the old Dr. Owens. Yeah. I didn't know. I wasn't sure if they like defected or not. That was the one thing I was not sure about.
Gotcha.
Because they did. The one guy looked kind of similar to one of the people in the meetings that kind of argued about like killing Will off, and the I wasn't sure like, oh, is this as a defector or from his group? Because like, no, it makes sense if someone had that information, they might want to try to sell it or have protection from someone. But yeah, but having that like timeline, it definitely does help. Like, oh, that's unreasonable.
And the other importance of the time card is that during the time that this event takes place is before season 2 starts, and the whole reason Dr. Owens is trying to keep everything under wraps is because they have the fear of the Russians gaining access to this new dimension. And obviously season 3 starts off with us seeing that the Russians are actually trying to actively get into the Upside Down. Mitchell, you made a face. You have something to say?
No, I guess I'll just make whoever's editing this just make a note. Tommy, your internet's kind of acting a little funny.
You're acting kind of funny.
I'm getting like every third word from you.
Oh, okay. Well,
I don't know if that's something that's just me or if that shows up in the recording.
It should have shown up in the recording.
I don't know.
So,
it should
okay.
Because it records separately on each of our devices, so it should come through clean in the end.
Well,
it should come through clean in the end. Yeah.
Sorry,
I put in the time. The
okay.
time.
You're just butchering season 3, episode 1. That's all.
Continue with the story.
If you want Connor to take over, you can. That way you can hear every word. That's up to you.
Oh no, I have no problem with it. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't an issue all the way around. But
no, we should be good.
We can return.
So we'll continue now with the party, and we get the title card of June 28th, 1985, showing it's a full year after the events from little Russian event. And we get Eleven and Mike having a little makeout session, and we just see a little a dad bod Hopper just eating chips, watching TV, and just constantly leaning
Tired of it.
over. And
He's tired of this. I've
I,
had enough of little kids making out in the other room.
we get a very different version of Hopper in this season. I don't know if everybody will like him as much as season 1 and season 2. I think as much as I love Hopper as a character, I was not the biggest fan of him in this season just because of how they made him a little more goofy and kind of almost lazy in a sense this season. But
no,
you
I
can
just got the
definitely see,
vibe of tired parents that's just like,
yeah.
now
But
I got to deal with
season
not
1,
just
season
her,
2, he
but
was very,
Mike.
gung ho, and this is him kind of growing a dad bod and kind of just relaxing a lot.
Yeah, no,
But
he was gung ho in seasons 1 and 2. This episode, it's keep the door open, ho.
Yeah.
It's changed a lot in this one because he's also got to deal with the fact that Connor finally understood that joke. There was a delayed fuse for Connor there.
Hey, it
Mike
was funny.
acting like, thank you. Mike kind of isn't as receptive as I thought he would be, but there's more coming with that.
Yeah.
They're both kind of
I
pissing
think
off
since
Hopper,
we're
but
already on the topic, I think we'll jump ahead and talk about what happens later with Mike and Hopper, because since we're already on the topic, this is the start of the douchiness of Mike. As I've told Nick and Connor for the past couple episodes now, like we do see a very big shift in Mike's character,
that it's coming.
and this is the start of it. And I hate him so much. I feel for Hopper in every scene, because even later in the episode when Hopper has his, tries to have his little talk with Mike and Eleven to, set boundaries as Joyce told him to do, and just Mike whispering in Eleven's ear and just mocking Hopper right to his face, like, "Oh, I think we're in trouble," and Hopper's just like, "Fuck this," and just drags him up into the car, lying to him about his grandma being sick or something. And Hopper just goes off on Mike. "There's nothing wrong with grandma." And he's just like, just letting loose. And it's funny because like Hopper is always kind of a little bit of a dick to the kids, but we definitely saw in season 2 him becoming more of a parent. Now he's just a pissed off old man who's just like, "I don't want this kid around my daughter anymore." And you see him
He's a
call Eleven
parent that's
his
tired
daughter,
of
even
your
though,
shit.
yeah. And he complains to Joyce about how he's like, it's constantly that all they do is just kiss and make out every fucking day. And I feel bad for him. But he just has that kind of snap too. And he's like, "You want to see crazy?" And just kind of has a like wild look in his eye. And Mike even was definitely scared for a minute too when he basically got locked in the car with Hopper. And I love that scene so much because I can see myself being that way in the future. I hope I don't get to that point, but it's just I don't know how I would handle just a snotty little asshole kid talking to me like that. That would just,
Here's the thing, though.
oof.
I can easily see Hopper's character being just like Mike when he was younger, just being a little asshole. Because like,
Yeah.
he pegged me as the troublemaker, and like,
it's definitely
I
a
can
thing
definitely
most adults have to realize too when they deal with kids. It's like, because a lot of times parents are like, they see themselves. Because I know my dad, he sees myself in him when I'm just being a sarcastic asshole to him. Because he does the same thing, and he's like, "Yeah, it's just me getting a big kick from Karma right in the ass every time you talk." And I'm like, "Yep."
that's the way it goes
Yeah,
sometimes.
I just think it's funny that Mike was trying to time up his moves with the song. That that just made me laugh. Like he was about to like go in for the kiss, but he wanted to wait for like the right moment in the song to do so. That just made me laugh. It was funny. It's like I guess you don't really need to do that, Mike.
You're only making out.
And the other thing too is that like it kind of goes full circle with the season finale of last season too, where Mike has his interaction with Hopper where Mike's yelling at him that he's a liar and like he's hugely pissed that
Yeah.
L's existence was hidden from him. And I think this is his no like his him going against authority in that situation, like trying to take back control of his relationship with L from Hopper in a way, because he felt like he lost his own connection with L because of Hopper. So
yeah, that's true. And it's also almost a little bit of a karma for Hopper because he kept 11 tucked away for so long, and he kind of got used to just it being him and her in just pure isolation. And now he has this bratty kid coming over the house every single day, and he's just stuck sitting on the couch just trying to pretend that nothing's happening. But just has to like lean over and realize, oh shit, they're making out, and just start screaming, 3 inches, 3 inches. It's just
that was so funny. the slow recline, and then seeing like getting into the view of like, oh my god, it's too
hey.
Great
and
scene.
It almost
Great scene.
For a slight moment, it kind of reminded me of Mr. Wheeler and how he just goes, hey, hey, every time something happens. I'm like, Hopper, don't go down that path. Don't become a Mr. Wheeler.
It's more aggressive than that. Mr. Wheeler could never put the amount of oomph on it that Hopper had.
But that's just the start. Eventually, you just mentally give in, and that's when you become a Mr. Wheeler.
Mm-hmm.
And another great line Hopper gives. What?
Sorry, I was going to transition to something else. Finish your thought, and then I will go.
I was just saying another great line that Hopper gives in this episode is when he's talking with Joyce, and he's like, maybe I could just kill Mike. I'm the chief of police. I can cover it up. Like, great thinking, Hopper.
I did like that. Let's talk
and
about
also
another.
Damn it! I want to continue on that too. Sorry, because he brought out Joyce, and I definitely want to bring that scene up with Joyce and Hopper as well, where like Joyce is actually trying to give him actual good advice, and it was definitely heartwarming, and it's like Hopper does care, but at the same time he's like, I'm not cut out for this shit. Like I have no clue what the fuck I'm doing, and it is a shit show and a half.
Yep. All right, Mitchell, go ahead with your transition.
Is it my turn to speak now? Am I
possibly?
Yes.
Let's talk about the new character that we didn't get to in the new character segment, and that is the Starcourt Mall. Because I do feel like the Mall is essentially a character in this season of the show. It's definitely
Please do explain.
It plays a gigantic part in. First of all, we've got the where do I even begin? Scoops Ahoy, where we meet Maya Hawke's character.
Yeah.
I love this shit.
It's also become a reason to try to change the shift of tone for the show, because we knew Hawkins, Indiana is a small town, all mom and pop shops, and now we got to see the introduction of a mall that's basically shutting down all of these businesses, including the place where Joyce works. So it's putting a lot of people out of work.
Yeah. But Steve Harrington is not one of them.
But not Steve Harrington. Our boy Steve is staying strong.
Boy Steve found a job scooping up ice cream, trying to pick up bitches, but he is failing miserably. And
making $3 an hour.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. But he gets free ice cream, and he gets to sneak his boys into the little back alley where they can sneak into the movie theater. And let me tell you, I would be doing that all the time if I had a job there. So great setup. Absolutely. I could relate wholeheartedly.
I'm gonna say this from.
I love.
Go, Tommy.
What's that?
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I love the whole introduction of Maya's character of just saying, hey Dingus, your kids are here, and it just kind of sets the tone of like, Like this
Or
is
how many
definitely a
kids are
thing
you
that they do
friends with?
frequently. And
But
it's a good reflection of Steve's character because Steve has greatly declined from season 1 where he's this preppy, hottest kid in school. He's going to work for his dad and, make a shit ton of money after and not really have to try hard for anything. And we quickly realize like he has nothing left. Apparently he didn't make it into college. His dad is basically not letting him work for him and is punishing him. So now he's stuck working at an ice cream shop in a mall. So Steve is just kind of at an all-time low, and these kids are basically his only lifeline to having something fun going on.
the
And my character definitely, shits on him for it constantly, which is great.
the thing that came from the season finale that I loved was his self realization that like to Nancy, like, oh, I'm a shitty boyfriend, but I'm a damn good babysitter. I
Yep.
had a great chuckle out of that one. I was like, oh my god, he knows what his role is now, and the fact that it's
And
leaning
this is
even
what
harder into
Mitchell
that
and
in
I have
season
been kind
3
of,
already.
yeah. And this is what Mitchell and I have been talking about for the last like half of season 2, where we're like, this is the start of Steve's like greatness, and this is where it comes into full play. Season 3 is his prime time, babysitter Steve in action.
Yep.
Oh, it's great.
This is
I'm looking forward
and
to it.
I'm and season 4 Steve is fantastic too. But yeah, this is some good stuff.
Yeah. So speaking of the mall, we get Mike. This kind of becomes the new hangout for all the kids too, and we see Mike leaving 11 to go hang out with Lucas and Max at the mall. And they kind of just explore around. They go see some movies, and we get Will, which is the worst bowl cut possible. I feel like the bowl cut has gotten worse for him over the seasons. I don't know if it's just
Dude, that was a
because
style
it
back
looks
then.
like his clothes don't fit him anymore. I know, but just it looks so bad on him.
As a bowl cut kid, I feel his
And
pain. Yeah, I had a bowl cut
but
when I
I
was
don't
like
feel like ours
6.
were ever like, well, that's 6. He's now like 13, 14. Like
But
I don't know.
again, it was like
Anyway,
still like that was still in the stylish back then, and like back in the 90s. Like no, it wasn't unheard of.
yeah. Now we get a scene when they're in the movie theater where things actually start to pick up in the show, and we get a scene where there's basically a town-wide blackout, and the camera focuses in on a building, and it's an abandoned steel mill, and we start to see a bunch of dust, excuse me, on the ground start to form what looks like a shadow type creature. And then the power comes back on, and Will gets goosebumps on the back of his neck and kind of has that like, oh shit moment in the theater. And of course, why would he say anything? Because Mike asked him, like, hey, are you okay? And he's like, oh, no, it's nothing. So I got to ask Connor, what was your reaction to this scene? Because this is definitely an important scene to the episode and the season. Because it's kind of setting up like, all right, shit's starting to happen again.
Yeah, and like it's definitely Will is sensitive to those things. It definitely seems like, but I'm not sure yet if the uh like again, it's kind of dissecting what's PTSD and what is actually occurring.
Yeah.
And to me, it looked like a PTSD flashback, but he knows something is up though.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's even PTSD because he was sensing something outside of the theater. It wasn't the movie
No,
he was
no,
sensing. It was
no,
something
no.
else.
I was
He was a
saying
good
he was.
actor in a movie. He got scared.
I was saying more so the him feeling that triggered the PTSD. That's what I'm trying to say.
Gotcha.
Because to be
But
fair, like, he went through a very traumatic event not even a year ago.
he's been through multiple traumatic events at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting because the whole concept is with 11 shutting the gate and cutting everything off from the hive mind. Everything from the upside down should, in theory, be dead at this point. So I remember watching this for the first time and going, well, what the fuck could this possibly? And obviously, I'm assuming it was tied to the Russians some way, but we don't know for sure yet. But I was curious as to what your thoughts were on that. But after that, we get finally a little bit of Dustin in this episode. We were missing him for the first couple scenes. And he's coming back from, I believe, either a space camp or science camp, where he's been gone for over a month at this point. And he's just on his radio saying, this is Gold Leader return to base, over and over and over, and getting more and more pissed off. And I felt bad for Dustin because at the end of season 2, we see him kind of being the loner at the dance where no one wants to dance with him. And now he's been gone for camp and he's excited to get back to his friends. And his friends are all, from what Dustin thinks, are basically abandoning him and forgot that he's coming home. And
they're all making out with each other.
I know they are. Well, except for Will. He's got nobody. But either way.
He's eliminating one.
But it was funny because Dustin's always talking about Lando Calrissian in the past couple scenes, and I was watching Star Wars yesterday as the nerd I am, and I forgot that Lando goes by Gold Leader in Return of the Jedi. So I think he's playing and likes to play as Lando because he called himself Gold Leader. So that's just a little Star Wars fun fact for you. But he's wearing a Camp Nowhere t-shirt, so I'm not sure if that's a connection to any 80s movies. Mitchell, I don't know if you have any knowledge on that aspect, but
not off the top of my head, no.
Okay. I wasn't sure because I was like, because they clearly show his shirt a few times, so I'm like, I don't know if that's a connection to something or if it's just a coincidence of the shot. But
not off the top of my head. There might be a moment where I'm like, yeah, connected. I know what that is, but not currently.
Okay. So we get a fun scene where Dustin's in his room and all the toys start coming to life and moving around, and Dustin's just kind of going to like, all right, what the fuck is going on right now? And you see the look on his face goes into pure shock. Well, Toy Story hadn't come out yet.
I know. I'm aware, Tommy.
This was pre Toy Story. But I feel like there was another. I feel like there was an '80s movie with wasn't there like an '80s movie like that had like toys come into life?
No, you're thinking of Small Soldiers, and that was in the '90s as well.
Yeah, it was '90s.
That was after. Okay. I think that was after Toy Story.
91,
oh, was it? Okay.
I think.
No, it wasn't.
I've never watched it. I just remember seeing.
Wait. Small Soldiers. Come on.
Yeah, that is what I'm thinking of. But
that movie, in 98. That was after Toy Story.
Yep.
Damn. Okay.
Fun movie,
never mind. So I
liked it as a kid.
I did too.
I've never seen it.
Definitely do.
At least I knew what it was.
Oh yeah, but we're taking baby steps towards knowing things.
Shut the fuck up. But so we have Dustin using his Farrah Fawcett spray as his only weapon, which I thought was great because last season he's got a full fucking set of hockey gear and baseball pads and has a whole set of armor, and yet he's now surrounded by toys coming to life, and his first thing is just grab Farrah Fawcett spray. What the hell was he planning to do with that? I want to know.
Obviously, spray Lucas in the face.
It was, as we quickly find out, it's very effective at spraying people in the face because Lucas and all of them surprise him, and he sprays Lucas right in the face, and we get a great just scream shot from Lucas. And that was just comedic gold between the two of them. But quickly after that, they all have a little reuniting. And Dustin is showing off all of his cool little science gadgets. So I saw a little bit of Connor and Dustin in that moment because I was like, because you did the what was the class in high school? You guys were always building shit.
It was engineering design.
Yeah, well, I just pictured that. I was like, I feel like that would be Connor if he was in the Stranger Things world, going to Camp Nowhere, creating a bunch of cool shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think in my mind was like, like as an adult now, like I'm like part of my job. I'm right now learning about radios and like making like different like demonstrations using them. And I like it went through my mind while I was watching this episode. I was like, would I be a radio kid when I was like in the '80s? Like the possibility. I'm not sure, but I wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised.
I mean, with your budget and tools available to you, I expect you to recreate some of these tools and bring them onto the podcast for a show and tell.
Do it.
But
No.
Make it happen.
that's down the road if you have time. I know you're a busy guy, but
Ugh.
if you want to make us a Cerebro, that would be awesome.
I'm good, thank you though.
If you can. But I think that was probably the coolest thing that Dustin created was a little Cerebro, because obviously he's a big X-Men fan. And so then we quickly get this little fun fact of Dustin has a girlfriend, Suzie. Connor,
A
do you think
Mormon
Suzie exists?
girlfriend.
Because no one else seems to believe it.
I think so. Because the fact I think that Dustin had too much knowledge of her. Like, how the hell would he know what a fucking Mormon is? Like, that's something that like that was
I
like
don't know.
no, like her being from Utah, that she's also a Mormon. No, and the fact that he keeps repeating like to try to contact her even when everybody else is gone. I think he is he his actual girlfriend? Maybe not, but I think she exists.
Okay. Glad you think that. I just felt that was worth asking, just to see if you actually
I
believe it
don't
or
blame
not.
the
But
I don't blame the kid other kids thinking that she doesn't exist because that because like they all trying to call it. He's trying to call out to her for multiple times and getting no response and like, oh yeah, no, you and your imaginary girlfriend, good job, buddy.
yeah. And we get a scene where they all, as they're going up to go find out who Suzie is, they're running through the field, and we get a little shot of all these rats running through the field. And we see it a little bit later where they're all going down to this the steel mill where we saw a few scenes ago, and they all just start exploding.
That scene was
So
so
Connor, I'm
weird.
going to ask you again. Yeah, what was your thoughts and what do you think is going on? Because obviously we saw a bit of the shadow type monster. We see all these rats going down there and exploding. What are your thoughts on that?
So my first thought was, a, this is freaky as hell because like that was like the first time like the demi dogs were or demo dogs were pretty interesting. But that was the first time where like I was like, okay, that this is creepy.
Yeah,
And the first thing that ran through my mind, like monster wise, though, is like, would this thing like congeal all these rat guts all onto one being? Because that would be horrific as hell. This like
is that a D&D monster that does that, or is that just your imagination creating something?
that's my imagination creating something of just like
Okay,
a some abomination that's a
a flashy
conglomerate,
rat gut monster.
kind of, yeah, like a conglomerate of just like ooze and like bones of these freaking vermin.
Okay, I'll have to ask. Obviously, Nick is not here with us, but I'll have to ask him when he watched it what he thinks its significance is, and we will definitely see what it is in an episode or so. But that was definitely the big highlight of the episode. We'll obviously go into all the other character story arcs, but that was kind of the more important underlying tone of the season. And season 3 definitely gets a little bit darker in terms of the monsters, and this is kind of the start of it. It definitely gives a much more, like you said, much more creepy vibe. So this is why I think season 3 was definitely one of the better seasons. It has a much more interesting, fucked up type monster. So on from that, we have Dustin continue to radio Suzie, doesn't get in touch with her, and finally gets a random little kind of Russian transmission, and we kind of hear a little bit of it, and it goes: the silver cat feeds when blue meets yellow in the west. A trip to China sounds nice if you tread lightly and the week is long. So that was the transmission. Do you have any thoughts on that? Because that's going to be another puzzle. Because last season we had the puzzle of Eleven's mom. Now we have a Russian transmission puzzle. Did you have any initial thoughts on that before we dive into the rest of the episode? I know we're kind of jumping around a little bit here, but
no, that's fine. It's the same train of thought. I thought that it definitely is code for something, and see that each term or phrase will mean something to something else.
Yep.
When blue meets yellow, the first blue meets yellow in the west. That's what I'm thinking. Like maybe something when it comes to the gates, like that connection there. Otherwise, though, I have no clue. This is one I'm like, I have to wait and get
I'm
some
not
more
expecting you
pieces.
to have any sort of answer for this. I was just curious if you had any sort of train of thought on what it could possibly be.
The only thing I think of is like,
because
a trip to China sounds nice. Like to me, like it's like my mind is that they're trying to build a gate from Russia to the United States. That's how I'm reading this. Like blue means yellow in the west. Okay, so they're trying to make a connection. A trip to China sounds nice to me. The term or phrase of if you keep on digging, you're going to dig through China. So kind of like that's my train of thought on there. So
okay,
but is it true?
Again, I'm pulling at straws, but don't know.
Well, we'll definitely see more about this in the coming episodes, but I just wanted to get your initial thoughts on it. So with that, we'll kind of transition over to the other characters where we have Nancy and Jonathan, officially a couple at this point, and they're working for the Hawkins Post, and we get Nancy is kind of the errand girl for the office, trying to pull her weight and definitely being the underappreciated worker of the staff, with a bunch of, obviously classic for the time. It was, a bunch of sexist white men just kind of hanging out, making fun of her. And we get a couple of the new characters in there. I think Bob is the one. I think that's his name, or Bruce. Bruce is the name. And Jonathan is the photographer there. So obviously he at least found something in his field. And it was very interesting just kind of seeing Jonathan and Nancy actually sneaking around Joyce in the beginning, because I feel like Joyce is the mom that wouldn't really care, because she kind of knows what's going on too. So I kind of thought that was funny how Nancy kind of sneaks out of the house and runs off, and Joyce basically like wipes the lipstick off of Jonathan and has a little conversation with Will, like, "Oh, you'll understand when you're in love one day." Like, she knows what's going on. Like,
yeah, she's the opposite of Hopper.
Yeah, exactly. I think she's just happy to have her kids safe at home and kind of like lets things slide, because she obviously knows there are a lot worse things that can happen. And we got a cute little scene too with where they show that Will drew a picture of Bob the superhero on the fridge.
That was in the season finale too. And
yes,
when I saw that, I was like, my heart, like, oh,
because like Bob will be sorely missed.
And they had a little cutscene with Joyce as well.
Yeah,
with Bob too. I was like, oh, I feel like no, Joyce still loves Bob, and I know Hopper wants to try to date Joyce at the moment, but like, oh, that hurt me so much. It's like, Bob, we loved you so much. You were such a great guy. It was, and another picture that Will drew too was like Bob is like in his like Radio Shack uniform with his tie, but also flying. I was like, beautiful. Way to go, Will.
Yeah. it was just a cute little scene. we all miss Bob, and I know even the Duffer Brothers, like they said, like they didn't want to kill Bob off because they loved his character so much, but they're like, it fit the story to kill him off.
Yeah,
but they didn't
I
want to.
like it when
Nobody wanted.
choices like that are made, when it's like,
Yeah,
we'd like to
for
do
the,
more
for the
with this
purpose of the
actor,
show.
but it works best in the story. Good
Yeah.
job, Duffer Brothers.
And that's why this show has been so great, because they make sure they do everything properly and they do what's best for the show, because they care
don't
about.
agree with that, but I will keep those complaints in my pocket and we'll return to them at a later date.
Okay. So
thank you, Mitchell.
Yeah. Mitchell just likes a little tease, a little here and there of things that he doesn't like.
Because
but he
I'm
doesn't
not
like
going to
to
let
say
you get
what they
away
are.
with that blasphemous statement.
Look,
But so
we should-
I
far,
have a feeling
so
I know what you're talking. I have a feeling what you're talking about, but up to this point,
maybe you do.
the Duffer Brothers have done, with the exception of not letting Noah Schnapp going and rehiring somebody else. But we can't fight that one. But so with Jonathan and Nancy gets a call towards the end of the episode from a Doris Driscoll, who says she has a story involving disease and rats. So the whole rat situation going on in the steel mill is definitely becoming a more central focus to what's going to be going on in the season. And they kind of tease that with crazy Mrs. Driscoll calling about the rats. So that kind of ties up the Nancy Jonathan storyline. It wasn't really too much going on in this episode, just setting up they work for the Hawkins Post. So
Honestly, too, it's also
we already
nice
talked
that
about.
it
Mhm.
it kind of follows the plot line from last season of Nancy interested in like, investigative journalism from her exploits with whoever his name is, who we have not seen yet.
Yeah,
The crazy guy. The
Murray.
Murray. That's it. Yeah. So I thought it was very nice where like she was inspired by that, and now she's trying to pursue that for herself.
Yeah. Now we talked about Robin and Steve, so I think what's left is the. I hate talking about it. It's just the creepy
Let's get
Billy
into
and
it.
Mrs. Wheeler relationship.
I want to say Rob Steve first before we hop into there. Those
Okay.
two are so great together. They
Oh,
are.
yes.
Yes.
I made a comment to Mitchell before we started recording. Was like, Robin is the yin to Steve's yang of
Yes.
just bullshitting around. They are such good banner, and the fact that Robin does not care and is like, no, screw you. Like the you suck board, fantastic, and
Oh,
she
absolutely.
she's definitely found to knock him down a peg.
And it just goes to show every crazy guy kind of needs that girl to keep him in check and say, she's like the ego checker. When Steve starts to swell up his ego, she just pops it and makes sure he knows that he's a loser and that he's still working at a fucking ice cream shop in a mall. And she does it perfectly. And their relationship is a very fun one to watch. Steve and Dustin and Steve and Robin are probably the highlights of this season and even going into next season.
I'm glad to hear that because I'm looking forward to see those two interact, because that was very much like the short times we had them together. I was like, oh, this is gonna be glorious.
Yeah, there is no spoilers behind this, but yeah, Robin sticks around for season 4, and the two of them are just perfect together.
Cool.
So
all right, let's go with the creepiness.
Yeah, and then let's go, because we had a nice conversation last episode with Nick, and Nick posed the question of, do Billy and Mrs. Wheeler fuck in season 3? And we we definitely see the potential outcome of that happening. I mean, Mrs. Wheeler basically gets to the door of the
I
house
thought
to
you
go
were
out.
going to say, and we actually see that happening. And I'm like, no, that's not what happens, Tommy. No,
it's not what happens. It was definitely leading up to that point. I think if Mr. Wheeler was not sleeping on the chair like he always is with his daughter on his lap, I feel like if he wasn't there, she probably would have left. if she didn't have that visual reminder of like, this is what I'm walking out on, more that her daughter and not necessarily Mr. Wheeler, I think, in this aspect,
Yeah.
but I think that's what kind of put her in check and realize like, I'm not this stupid, I'm not going to do this, and she cancels and stays home. But Billy was under the impression of, I'm going to meet Mrs. Wheeler tonight, and obviously they have their little flirtation at the pool, which was just creepy. And Billy was just the classic 80s lifeguard of just cursing out all the little kids, calling the kid lard ass, banning, threatening to ban him for life. And I feel like that was like the 80s trope for any lifeguard movie, like even in Sandlot, even though I think Sandlot's technically a 90s movie, but all the lifeguards just apparently had this power of banning people for life, which I thought was pretty funny. But we get Billy basically going out on a date, and on his way to meet Mrs. Wheeler, he gets hit by something mysteriously, ends up at the same steel mill that we've seen all these rats go to, and gets dragged down into the steel mill.
He dead.
So I'm going to pose another question, Connor. What were your reactions to this scene, and what the fuck do you think is going on now?
So definitely still probably upside down shenanigans, because I think whatever he hit was gooey, like that kind of what we've seen with Dart and all the other. Come on, knucklehead. My cat's knocking into the mic. With Dart and all the other crap that's been down there. So like it had that same consistency.
Yep.
And the fact that it grabbed him, that was like, oh, this is serious. And like, so with the whole abomination of flesh thing that came to mind with the rats, I was like, oh, is he going to be added to the pile? And like, is he like, when they face the monster, are they going to find Billy inside this monster when they see him? Because I'm thinking, I'm thinking he's dead. Like,
in my brain, what you're describing in my brain, I'm thinking of The Thing. If you've ever seen The Thing,
I was thinking more.
Doesn't The Thing?
Have you guys ever watched Full Metal Alchemist?
Yes.
No, but I've heard amazing things.
Great anime. If you want to watch it, watch Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. That's the better of the two.
Yes, I've heard that too.
So there's a scene in it. I'm not going to spoil anything, but when Envy shows her true form, you have all these like faces and like looks like people with inside of Envy, and that's how I kind of see it. Of like, oh, it's this kind of weird corporeal flesh thing that has like all bits of the bodies, and you can like kind of see Billy like in it, like kind of part of this thing. Yeah, that's how I saw like the Envy. I think would be the best one. I don't think I spoiled anything, but if you haven't seen that anime, fantastic. Highly recommend.
Sounds good. So with that, I mean, unless you guys have anything else to say, I think that kind of wraps up a good chunk of the episode. I don't think we missed anything significantly important out.
Oh, one thing that I was kind of surprised I didn't bring up, because we didn't mention the magnets falling off the fridge itself, which I thought was very strange, and because the fact that it's affecting magnetism for a short while is weird, because magnets don't do that, and like you can see it with electromagnets. That if you don't send a current through them, it loses its magnetic field. But regular magnets don't do that, because they put them right back under the fridge. Something completely unrelated, and I'm surprised they didn't make any mention of this, because you have the scene where Joyce opens the fridge, What happened to the
Mm-hmm.
the demo dog in the fridge? Because and then season finale,
Well,
they
I mean,
stuffed it in
That's
there.
yeah.
see,
It's been a year, right?
no, it's been 6
It's been
months, but still, yes, I feel like
the fact that
They've done.
they
no,
should
They
have
but how
had
gotta
could
a
have
like
done
scene.
something with it.
If anything deserved a flashback scene in this episode, it should have been a flashback scene when Joyce closes the fridge door, of just a flashback of her opening the door when she gets home and just seeing a Demogorgon body in the fridge and just like, what the fuck? That would have been a perfect
like
scene to throw in there, but unfortunately, we did not get that.
because I was hoping for something. I was like, they didn't touch it at all. Like, oh, there's a freaking demo dog in my fridge, and no, when they opened the fridge, like, where's the like? I was like, what happened to the dog? Like, because it was there
But
at one point,
it
and
does also pose the question of what did they do with it? Because I know Dustin was very concerned of preserving his scientific discovery,
yeah,
but I'm very curious as to what they ended up doing. If they just buried it somewhere, or who knows what. But yeah, that would have been great to see a flashback
or
of
torch
that,
it, probably torched it.
possibly. But yeah, so the magnets are definitely an important concept that we did forget to talk about, and it does become a recurring thing. They don't really kind of give any clues to what's going on with them yet, but I think if we go off of the previous seasons with magnetism, with the magnetic north and all that being in play, and with the Russians building a new device, I think that could potentially be a clue as to what might be going on. But they don't really allude to much else just yet. But they definitely clue that that's going to be something important to look at.
They say that though was
Um,
the soundtrack for this episode though slapped. Oh
yes.
man, like you had. Well, I'm pulling up now. Yeah, this is the Motley Crue. No, you had no Bubby O'Reilly. What was the other one that was in there? That was Cold as Ice by Foreigner. I was like, oh, so
Yeah.
good. I was so happy
Season,
with
season
this.
3 and season 4 definitely amp up the amount of 80s like hits in the show. So we definitely get a more well-rounded soundtrack going forward. And yeah, this episode they had a lot of great songs in it.
Yeah, Moving Stereo is another one that popped up.
Yep.
Oh, so good, so good.
So with that, are we good to wrap up the episode? I think we touched on everything now at this point.
Yep, let's go to ratings.
Um, let's go to ratings. I'll start off. Will give this a I'll give this a flat 9.
Wow.
Good
The
lord, we're
reason
starting high.
I I really love this season, and I like, granted nothing big happens in this episode, but I like how they were able to throw everybody's character in, introduce new characters, not have to give any verbal explanations to what's going on. You just know what's happening. You see the new relationships develop between you see Michael and Eleven's relationship has progressed. You've seen Lucas and Max have progressed. You see that Dustin was away for camp without having to need a whole giant scene of dialogue basically explaining what's going on. You see little hints, like they've set up multiple plot lines in this first episode between the weird little shadow type monster, the magnets, the Russians. Like you have all this stuff being thrown in, and it doesn't feel rushed. And you're basically at the end of the episode, you're waiting for more. Like it builds up a lot of suspense and definitely cliffhanger ish type episode. So I liked it a lot better. Where season 2 was very, like, obviously the start of season 2 was very dry for us. There wasn't anything exciting going on. This, I think, was the complete opposite. They just set up everything in the first episode. So yeah, so 9 flat for me. Connor.
I gave it a 8.6. I thought it was again also very strong, and like it gave me one more. It did everything it was supposed to do in a premiere, honestly, and I enjoyed it. It was good. Can't complain. Damn rats.
So I
All right.
think, because I don't think Nick gave us his rating, so we'll have to get that from him later on. But my Mitchell rating, I think, will be at 8.37.
I'm going to go. Here, I'll type it in real quick before I forget. 8.37, and then ooh, that was a good guess there, Tommy. I like that one.
I was very close last episode too.
I
I was off by 0.04.
You give it a 3.7. I'll take the under on this one. I'll give it the 8.25. Mitchell.
All right. So
Mitchell.
my grade for this episode is an 8.47.
Oh,
that's
so close.
That's where we fall on this. I didn't think I'd be the lowest one on it because I really enjoyed it, and it's definitely my highest for a season opener. Usually the season opener, season premiere. The correct terminology. Thank you, Connor. Usually I'm a little bit lower on those because it's a lot of just getting you reacquainted with the characters and kind of just introducing some new plot threads, some new actors and characters, and this felt a little bit more substantial. And I know that it goes to good places, but this on its own, if I didn't have that knowledge, I would still trust it because it just feels like, all right, we had some rocky waters, and now we're back to business. We're doing the things that we're supposed to be doing, and I'm right back on board. So 8.47.
Well, beat me there, Tommy. I was thinking of going higher than 2. I was like, I was wavering. I should have just went my gut.
I thought you guys would have predicted just a little bit higher.
Well, I know you're a very critical person, Mitchell, as everyone who's listened to the show knows. And if you listen to Press Play Action Podcast, you'll hear much more criticism from Mitchell about how he feels about every fucking movie. You're a very critical person, Mitchell, and you don't hold back with your opinions. So I usually go lower than what I think.
No, I don't, but I'm also fair. Like, there's gonna come a movie in a few weeks that I'm expecting to be like a super duper F-, but maybe there's a chance that it's not. So
I will watch it, folks.
Everything. Yes, I will watch Little Man and give it a fair chance. You never know. Maybe Little Man is good. It's probably not, but you never know. Every movie, every TV show, every TV episode.
That's why you always got to get at least a one shot.
Deserves its day in court. And I am here with the gavel.
Well, we shall see. Anything else, gentlemen?
Connor's going to be joining us here for one of these here soon.
Oh, yeah. 2 of my favorite movies. So those are...
Yeah. Can't wait.
Those are ones that I definitely grew up with. Well, with that being said, that's it for us to this episode. We have season 3, episode 2 coming up soon. Anything else? I don't believe so. So with that, follow us on our socials on Twitter and Instagram.
No,
that's Stranger Nerds. And let's get out of here. Have a good one.